Here are the three fundamental pillars of boxing. Focusing on these three things during your training, whether that's shadow boxing, sparring, or even on the bag, is going to help you become a much better boxer. No matter what level you're at, you should be focusing on these three things. We're going to order these three pillars in ascending order of importance so that the retention time on this video increases and therefore we get more views and therefore me and the cameraman and Jordan become more rich. For more brilliant videos like this, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and like the video to help us out. The first pillar of boxing that we're going to cover is rotation. Now, I want you to imagine as you're boxing that you're rotating about an axis that goes from the top of your head and straight down your torso. And every punch you throw, you rotate on this axis, no matter whether it's a hook to the body, a hook to the head, a left uppercut to the head. Even if the punch is coming vertical, you're still doing the same rotation about this axis. So you need to focus on that first of all. The next thing is knowing that there's a flow of boxing, and this flow corresponds with the twist in your hips from left to right. No matter what punch you throw, no matter what defense you do, it will always be this left to right motion. Even if you double up the same punch, say I throw two left hooks, I still twist back to the left before I throw the second one and come to the right. So here, jab, right hand, I'm twisting this way. Could slip, I'm back to this way. Can roll, I'm back to this way. Could slip, roll, jab, backhand, left uppercut. It's all going from left to right, no matter what I do. One thing you should think about relating to rotation is your stance. If your stance is too narrow, then it's going to be quite hard to get full rotation in your hips and therefore full extension in your shot. But if it's too wide, you won't get enough rotation because your body's almost like perpendicular to the direction of your punch. In other words, you're square on. We don't want to be too square on because then we can't get much rotation and therefore much power in our punches. So you want to find the sweet spot, which is in between the two. We don't want to be too narrow like this and we don't want to be too wide like this. So we get the right amount of rotation and we get the full range of motion in each punch. When you're rotating your body to throw punches or defend, you don't want to move your knees too much. So if I'm throwing a left hook to the body, I don't want my knee to like dip in too far. What this does is it sort of takes the grip I have with my feet on the ground away. As you see, as I dip this knee in, I sort of roll onto the side of the ball of my foot. So you want to maintain the same knee position while still being able to rotate and not bending that knee in. So like this. See how my knee isn't like collapsing in when I throw left hook to the body or left hook to the head. It's not like collapsing this way. The foot's staying planted and it grips the ground. And this will make sure that you maintain the right amount of power you need to land damaging punches. I noticed this when a coach pointed it out to me. He was saying when you're throwing the left hook to the body, you're dropping your knee in. And since not doing this, I feel way more stability and way more ability to stay on balance, which brings me to the next pillar, which is balance. Starting with the weight distribution in your stance. It needs to be 60% of the weight on this back foot and 40% of the weight on this front foot. And this will allow you to be in the right position to get the shots off and defend as well. This weight distribution is often manipulated by novice boxers to reach the target. However, when the target's not there, i.e. they miss, they'll come off balance and be open for a counter. So if I throw a right hand and I change this weight distribution and I come on all the way onto my front foot, I'm then in a position when I inevitably miss the shot to be countered by a left hook. And if I'm not anyway, I'm in no position right now to defend because I'm off balance. So we want to stay in this weight distribution, this sort of stance, this position here. So when I do throw shots and I miss, I'm not going to come off balance and be vulnerable for a counter. People's perception of how unbalanced they are can often be misjudged when they're on the bags or they're on the pads. And we made a how to hold the pads video, which you can check out. And in this video, one of the points we said was sometimes it's good to just move the pad out of the way. So say they're throwing 1-2 left hook, when you can catch the 1-2 on the pads, and then as they go to throw the left hook, move it out of the way and see whether they're on balance or not when they miss the shot. If their weight distribution and stance is wrong, then as soon as they miss the pad, they'll come off balance and they'll have to adjust their feet. Whereas if they're in the proper weight distribution and they're on balance, they'll miss the pad, but their general positioning and shape won't really differ too much. They'll stay there, ready to throw more punches even though they missed. So it's all about not relying on the pressure behind the pad to stop your weight coming forward and you coming off balance. It's the same on the heavy bag. This is how you can develop bad habits, because you're altering your technique based on the pressure that the bag has on the other side of your punch, meaning that you can be off balance and still not fall over or be in a disadvantageous position to be countered. And also the bag's not going to counter you. So fuck bag work, just do proper pad work, sparring and shadow boxing is what I'm saying, which is also another great point. The best way to practice your balance is just by shadow boxing, because all of your punches are obviously going to miss because you're just hitting the air unless you're aiming for the air. So if you're shadow boxing, you know you're on balance because any punch isn't going to have any resistance behind stopping it. So therefore you're not going to come off balance. So practice shadow boxing and practice staying on balance whilst you're shadow boxing. To avoid any of these problems, if you're a beginner, just focus on having your weight on the back foot all the time. Just think about that whilst you're moving around the ring, whether you're shadow boxing on the pads, bags, or sparring, or in a fight even. If you just make that the focal point, then generally you'll do better in the fight. You ain't going to be able to think about all these intricate little tricks that you're going to be able to pull off in your first couple fights or sparring. That's just not realistic. You've got to think about foundations and pillars and just rely on your motor skills to be able to do these little tricks. And also thinking in the ring comes later on. Like if you've just started, you just need to get the right technique and foundations and just see what happens in sparring. Whereas when you get a bit better, you can start to use tactics and strategy. Shout out Hybrid Warrior Elite, where we've got tactics and strategy courses. Don't know why you wouldn't join, but one great tip for staying on balance when you're boxing is keeping your ankles extremely rigid and stiff. You want them to be solid so you can grip the ground with your feet and really have all of your weight put behind your punches. If you're like bouncing on your toes all the time, you're not going to be able to like really sit down on your shots and let that power go. Think about rigidity in your ankles. This also helps to, as I said, bounce around. If your ankles are nice and rigid, then it sort of it gives you the foundations to be able to like skip around the ring a little bit better, make those small little adjustments that get you in and out of range to get your shots off and defend better. Which leads me on to the next point, because the rest of your body should be the opposite. Your ankles should be rigid, but your knees should have a slight cave in them like this, so nice and loose. Your core should be relaxed and rounded like this, and your arms and shoulders should have no tension in them, including your neck as well, because you want your neck to be relaxed, so your chin is nice and tucked like this, and your elbows want to be almost rested on your stomach, ready to fire these shots out. That's going to allow you to punch a lot better, faster, with better technique, which leads nicely onto the third and final and most important pillar of all, and that is relaxation. You need to be as relaxed as a tea towel. You'd be like, what is Hybrid Warrior training on about today? Well, remember those games you used to play when you and your siblings would like get tea towels and just like crack on the back of their leg, cause them extreme pain? Probably my favorite game ever. You want to be like that. What do I mean by this? I mean, your arms want to be like two tea towels, and the rotation of your body is like you operating the tea towel with a whip, with the flick of the wrist. Imagine these are two tea towels and they're completely flimsy and relaxed like a tea towel is. And then when I use the rotation of my body, or when I whip my wrist, that is the exact same principle as when I'm punching. So I rotate, I flick the wrist, and my hand comes out, and that snap at the end when my elbow extends and my wrist kinks all at the same time is what gives that snap of the tea towel whip, right? You want to imagine this analogy when you're boxing. Just think of the tea towels like this. So So you want arms to be nice and relaxed. A couple tips for staying relaxed whilst you're sparring or fighting is just shaking off your arms and legs like this. So just shake them. That's what I always do. You see me do it sometimes in my fights. Like I'll just stop mid-fight, step out of range and just go like that. And it just allows me to be better relaxed and be able to use this T-towel whip punching motion. Another tip that one of my fellow boxing squad members told me recently was to be able to relax your shoulders. You just like jumping down, up and down on the spot, but you like let them like shrug themselves like this. And that's like gets rid of all the tension in your traps. Like I feel like I have a lot of tension in my traps, and you can see that from when I've been boxing, especially like when I first started. It was like I was shrugging like this because I was thinking, oh yeah, I need to get my shoulder in front of my chin. But it actually works the other way around. You don't want to shrug your shoulders up. You just want to relax your chin down like this, and then your shoulder naturally protects you a bit better. In summary then, the 3 pillars of boxing are relaxation, balance, and rotation. Relaxation, just remember the tea towels analogy, whipping out your punches. Balance, think about if you miss a punch, are you going to be off balance or are you going to stay on balance? Rotation, think about that axis from head to foot when you're just rotating about it whenever you throw a punch or whenever you defend. And this is explained in much more detail in our Flow of Boxing video, which we'll link at the end. Also, make sure you join the school community. It's grown to 500 members in about a month. So it's on the way up and you're missing out if you don't get in there now. And it's free. I don't know why you wouldn't join. In fact, go do it right now, or I'll come find you and I'll fucking fill you in, mate. Leave a like, subscribe and all that.